live. Welcome to Life Action Roleplay with
Cynthia Marie,
Ty Norman,
and Brian Omega. And joining us today for this topic of the future of LARP, introduce yourselves, please. Let me start off with Garrett.
Hi, my name's Garrett Hallows. I'm the head of story for Twin Mass.
And then,
Hi,
I'm Fabienne.
Hi, I'm Fabienne. I am the co-producer at the Scabby Rooster, and I also am a logistics staff at Twin Mass.
I was looking at the Twitch, and the problem is the Twitch music is delayed by everything, and I'm like, I'm just gonna have to turn that off for now.
Yeah.
So yay technology and working with it. First of all, any shout outs? Garrett, any shout outs you want to give today?
Oh, nothing that pops out of my head immediately.
Fabi?
The only shout out I can think of is we have events at Gen Con, and we still have seats available for Aether House Tabletop. So if you want to play a tabletop game based on our Aether House Academy, which is our magic school LARP here at Scabby Rooster, come join it. You can find it at bit.ly/rooster at Gen Con. That's where you'll find all of our Gen Con events.
Kai, any shout outs?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to probably cover, actually, I know I'm going to be covering why, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But there are a number of dungeon masters who have been helping me with something over the last weekend or two that are integral to basically everything working. And they are essential and wonderful, and I am so glad to have them as my friends and the people who might help make me make other people happy. So if you think you're one of those people, you are absolutely one of those people I'm talking about.
Tin.
Okay, so a couple of shout outs here. First one is, I've been saying this every week, everyone who's fighting the good fight, keep fighting for it. It's been really good work for all of you. This one's gonna be a bit harder for me, but my shout out is gonna go to a dear friend that we lost last week, Grant Imahara. He's been on our podcast before. If you haven't listened to it, please go listen to it. It's incredible. But if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to take a moment of silence for remembrance of him.
Of course, we will take a 15-second moment of silence.
Thank you.
All right. My shout out is just to some local friends here in Iowa for making me feel especially welcome here. Being in a different state has its own challenges while I'm working on a project out here. And so my shout outs to my friends Nathan, Jeff, and Paige. Thank you for making me feel welcome, for cooking food in this bread and breakfast, and just sharing your lives with me. So thank you so much. And this beautiful, wonderful place. As you can see, I'm in this loft with a, let's see if I could show it off here with a.
Oh yeah, I saw posts.
Yeah, that's the
so
hot tub.
Nice.
This is my.
It seems like a very good like staycation job. Like you got lucky.
Yeah, I did get lucky, and after this, I'm probably gonna go into the hot tub again. So, because why not?
Hell yes.
What is everyone drinking today?
I'm drinking water.
Same. I am imbibing this weird clear stuff that doesn't have any alcohol content or fizziness, carbonation, or anything. It's really weird. Apparently, it's super healthy for you, but I'm a LARPer. I don't know what water is.
Also,
Shane, Kai.
I'm drinking tea.
Nice.
That's my drink.
So hot water.
Hot water with some leaves in it.
Yeah, just a bottle of water here. Staying hydrated. Garrett, anything?
Oh no, just water. I drank a Red Bull just before this, but now it's just water. Gotta get in the LARP spirit.
Right?
Before continuing, I just want to give a shout out to the last robot, who is like our most recent Patreon subscriber. So thank you so much for signing on and supporting our content. And we're gonna have some more. We're planning to have some more things going on, but planning is a bear. So, but looking forward to making things happen. For today's topic, the topic is the future of LARP after pandemic. This is a topic that I think several of us have been thinking about, especially as we've been locked down and we are just by nature social creatures. And many of us do miss this activity that we have all come to love. But what does the future of LARP look like given what is happening now? Will it ever return to normal, or will we have to adapt?
Deep.
So, I mean, I'd like to start the discussion with actually baselining like what running a LARP was like before pandemic hit. So those of you who are unfamiliar with the ins and outs of running a LARP, Garrett, I'd love to start with you. What's it like running a LARP?
Well, it's funny because most of my all right, you're the one in charge, run the LARP. LARPs now have been online post-pandemic. We only got one in before everything kind of transferred over.
Yeah.
So for me, it's going to be a pretty weird approximation of everything. I mean, I've been LARPing since I was 15 though. So I mean, I do have a general idea of the flow before becoming the head of story. And prior to all of that, it was something in between, like organizing a really big camping trip and running a very small Renaissance fair. So you have, everything from making sure people know how to be self-sufficient enough to not starve in the woods or, just in a campsite or, be dehydrated. All those basic things need to be covered. And then, you start layering stuff on top of there. And as you get bigger, more layering is involved. There's not any one person that makes Twin Mask, for example, happen. It's a whole web of people all kind of working together, and it's mostly PCs coming and really pushing to pull everything into character, which I think is one of the strong suits that LARP has throughout all of this. Is that the community is already very, very strong and knows how to hold together despite distances. But I feel like that's getting ahead of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I don't run LARP from the story side. I work at Twin Mass on the logistics side. And yeah, I mean all of that. And then logistically there's paperwork and getting everyone checked in and making sure that the players are prepped before the event, because the event is surviving in the woods, camping, and making sure people are aware of that, as well as have all of their character stuff done and in so they can check in at event as quickly as possible and get them in game as quickly as possible. And making sure that you're running an event, right? So you still have to have your customer service and schedules and making sure your volunteers or your NPCs or whoever are on time and going everywhere. Making sure people know about the event, so you can market the event and stuff like that. So there's camping Ren Fair on improv or theater in general on track. I would say.
With emotional turmoil thrown in on top as the cherry.
Yeah.
Because you have to plan for people breaking down.
What about you for DR, Kai?
Me? Well, last weekend I ran our first attempt at an online one. I'm really glad that I got to try a couple of other online games. I got to try Dystopia Rising one. I also got to try one of the only one so far that Twin Mask done. And I really tried to pay attention to how things were executed on those. And I am blessed with a very, very talented team. My head of logistics, Tobias McCurry, who has been a guest on our show, on this show a couple of times now. he went and he learned how to make bots in Discord. And he basically, over the course of about a week and a half and sleeping very little, he automated almost everything that we need to run the LARP. We have dice rollers and check-in machines. We have like a whole permission system where you enter in your ticket and it allows access to certain rooms and things and various access you can do. And we're also very lucky that because Dystopia Rising is a national network, the database is all online. It's not a lot of smaller LARPs have like Google spreadsheets and things like that, which is essential. But bigger networks, if they really care about the infrastructure, go for like databases online that the players can kind of access and stuff. And Dystopia Rising is recently, by a very talented coder by the name of Gloria Bowideman, I believe Bowideman. I'm hoping I'm not getting her name wrong. She's a very talented coder and has built a whole interface for our players to like basically check in and like once they've gotten their ticket, they go into the database, they pick what mods they want to go on and everything like that, and they're allowed to pick 3 mods over the course of 2 days, etc. Honestly, I feel like our game went so smoothly because several of my staff members damn near killed themselves in the prep, and then basically sat back and watched everything happen, made sure nothing set on fire, but sat back and enjoyed the margaritas while my story team and I were on the front lines running the actual story and the meat of the story, basically. But yeah, I couldn't have wished for a smoother execution of our first game. I am blown away that my team was able to do so well on so many different levels. I'm very, very grateful that we had games like Twin Mask to learn a lot of the good tricks from, and then just try and add our own spin and elements to it.
Nice. Well, so jumping back in time when you guys were running DR, like what did you feel is the big difference between running it from before the pandemic up into this?
The physicality is obviously the thing. We were very worried about delivering a quality content that would actually like immerse everyone, and it seems like online LARPs that are trying to do LARPs are doing kind of like communal chat rooms that are for soft RP, and then they have like dedicated chat rooms that have like a limited number of attendees to run some sort of tabletop like experience that after they've completed it, they can go back to the common areas and like talk amongst themselves, share data and all those kinds of things. And then a little bit later, they're scheduled for another adventure. So they go off, they do more things. So you can have like one module, like one adventure, you're introducing some ciphers for decoding some clues later. And then other adventures through the game, different groups of players are finding like, pieces of paper with a whole bunch of secret messages on. The players who found the cipher and the players who found the notes need to get together between actual adventures and work it all out and stuff. So we tried to take those aspects, because you can use that sort of experience in a physical LARP as well. And we've been trying to look at what we can take from existing LARP experiences and bring them in, and what we can take advantage of from that point. Because obviously, if you're doing a LARP, it's kind of hard to have a believable dragon or like, a crazy battle tank or like, a nuclear explosion going off or something crazy like that. And I appreciate that online we're allowed to do a little bit more of that like whole theater of the mind rather than a lot more LARPs go for the WYSIWYG. You guys have heard of that phrase, right?
The WYSIWYG?
Yeah, like, what you see is what you get.
Oh, yeah. Right. Okay, I've heard that. I haven't heard the acronym for it. I like the acronym. Yeah. It's very good.
Yeah,
So jumping over to Ryan real quick. So we've talked about a lot of like the large scale type LARPs, but we haven't talked about more of the private setting LARPs, which you're obviously a runner of with running some of Bruce's stuff. What do you think has changed for more of the private setting type LARPs?
Right now, because the private setting LARPs are mostly dependent on people being there in person, we really can't like do anything and can't hold a physical space for the particular LARPs that we do run, because everything is based off of actual locations of movement of people. So we have not had the ability to convert any of that into an online format. Also, we just concluded Hollywood Forever, so we're going to start another of these LARPs, and we didn't think coming up with the online version would be as satisfactory as everyone meeting in person. Even if our LARPs are about like 40 people, like just having that many people in a single place is too risky for many of us. So I think the consensus is to hold back until there is like either a vaccine in place, or things can be relaxed as a result of people following behaviors. But unfortunately, with people following or not following certain behaviors right now, it's hard to tell when we will be able to bring that back.
I think no matter what, like any sort of event where it's more than 5 people, maybe more than 10 people, we're gonna have to wait for at least vaccination, if not herd immunity, to have those kind of events. At least here in the US, just because we're crazy, everyone.
Yeah.
There are people here that are crazy. So yeah, I think in general, that's any event over 10 people. I think you might be able to do it. Have you heard about the people SF's doing it? They're doing like pods, quarantine pods. Have you heard of that?
Yeah,
A little bit.
It's like it's a lot of families that are trying to focus on like at home learning now, but they're doing it in a way where they'll group together with like a group of like 5 families with kids that are around the same age or whatever. They'll all quarantine for their 14 days, get tested, make sure they're all clean or whatever, and then those 5 families are the only families that you interact with. You don't go out and interact with anyone else. You don't do anything. And together you help each other. Like you teach the kids, like homeschool the kids as a group. So that way the kids get interaction with like other kids and get like the classroom setting, as well as, it kind of relieves the other parents. So if a parent needs to go to work or something, they're able to like kind of do that. But that's still like, you can't have more than 5 families. You can't do more than that. That's taking a risk, going higher than that. So,
and it's also assuming all of those families are also being very, very good outside of everything.
Right, exactly. You literally have to trust those people. And I think maybe that would be how you could do it, but why you would do that for LARP, it seems like a lot. Families, it makes sense, but like, hey, I want to make sure I can LARP this year. So like, no, I'll wait. It's okay.
I feel like that's something that might start to emerge once things do start to become under control. Let's like worst case scenario, assume more than a year out, where things are like, okay, we're at least definitely past the halfway point, and it's just that very slow reaching back out into the water. And then changing a bunch of habits forever too.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
Like normal's gone. Bye normal.
No, yeah, fuck that. Normal's out the window, team. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Can just to make sure that hey Joe, we've lost visual. We are now invisible. Just to let you know.
Invisible.
We're floating boxes.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're good.
I mean, we've got audio, so that's great.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So something that I've noticed that's different, that I started talking to a lot of people about is the reemergence of text-based role play. Like, we've talked about this before, like a bunch of times on here. First time I ever started role playing period was Yahoo and AOL chat rooms.
Yeah.
Like, I am all about that paragraph lifestyle. And just totally killing it with text. But what's interesting is hearing role players who LARP, who are really good at having personal interaction, having a really hard time trying to convey
creative
what
writing.
their character's doing. Yeah. So it's interesting to me because I was like, dude, that's like my bread and butter. Like I'm super good at doing this, but I haven't engaged because it's been a very mixed moment for me, mainly because I have a full-time job, y'all. Like let's be real. I don't have a whole lot of time for me to be going on a chat room at like 2:00 in the morning, be like, hey, what are you doing? I'm gonna kill you in my eyes. Yes. Like I just don't have that time anymore. As much as I would love to have fun with everybody, like it's just been a really interesting switch to go from everyone talking about their interactions in person of like, oh, did you see that happened? I was like, no, I totally missed that, dude. I was like, I was in logistics. Like, what happened? Or no, dude, I was sleeping. What happened?
Right.
To like, did you see the text message at 4:00 in the morning that Ian threw onto the chat? No, I didn't see that. Sorry.
I think it's really interesting. Like, it's kind of, I think in a way it's kind of a good thing because I think we've become so reliant on what you see is what you get that there's a point where that text-based chat has that you kind of have to let go and like let yourself, oh my God, why can't I think of the word? When you release, it's a theater term. Oh my God.
Theater of the mind?
Yeah, theater of the mind, but like suspension of disbelief, right?
Uh-huh.
It's where it's you have the text-based chat makes you have this suspension of disbelief or whatever that you're actually there. You're not just chatting in a text form, like you're actually in the room, in this dark, musty room with a group of other vampires together talking in whispers, and like, you know, you have to kind of, it makes you kind of as a role player, and especially as like a LARPer that's mostly into live action like boffer LARPs, now you have to imagine it even more, and you have to let your head like imagine it even more. And I think it's an interesting like exercise to improve your role play in general, and like improve like letting yourself go and like being immersed in something. You don't just have to have the actual building there to be immersed. You can kind of do it in your head. Yeah, that's what I'm going at.
Do you mind if I jump in here?
Please.
So 2 things. One, because we are talking about text-based chat, obviously we have lost video feed. So that's great. We're working on theater of the mind right now in this podcast for the true experience. This is cutting edge technology right now. I have a couple of ideas on this personally, but I really want to hear you guys first. Fab was talking about immersion, and you know, like that's super important for anyone. And obviously LARP has the advantage over most other forms of roleplay because immersion is right there in front of you. The monster is charging at you. You are swinging the sword, you are incanting the spell and watching the monster fall over and everything. Like that's visceral. What are your suggestions on how to improve immersion now that we have this new medium to engage with?
Like, I think one of the ways that we can start addressing like the awesome new power of imagination that we have at our disposal, at least from the story staff side of things, is to start providing a lot more just documentation about basic World War stuff in general to give more people a leg up into what's already kind of like established. Because I think that's the biggest hurdle for newer players that don't have this wealth of memories to fall back on. And we were already kind of moving towards that too, with game getting as big as it was. We'd hold back a lot of plot because more of the game was about discovering that plot. Now that the player ratio is so radically different, it's more beneficial to like kind of bootstrap the lore base of the players to be more, you know, equipped to readily receive what's going on. That way, not as much time has to be wasted like getting the basics done. Like one of the things we're working on is getting a map of town that's like a 1-to-1 from Google Earth that we have for our random battle team to reference while they're doing their random battles. So like tools like that, I think will start to emerge that will kind of form this universal lexicon of different game worlds.
That's pretty freaking powerful. I like the sounds of that. Yeah,
I mean, like there's nothing really debilitating about doing online storytelling. It's just tabletop, which is
Yeah.
already tried and
Absolutely.
true. One of the things we did recognize at start too was like, all right, we got to slow down our pace, because if we're doing tabletops take a little bit more time than a LARP in a lot of ways, because you're planning a more tailored experience rather than like, all right, we're just going to grab people and go. Like, both of those things can exist, but pulling them both off at the same time takes a lot of effort and energy, which when we talk about like, what's different between at least then and now, we don't have to worry about people not dying at the game. Like there's nobody that's really at risk of dehydration unless they are truly being stupid at home.
Oh yeah,
which
like
we can't control.
I mean, like I haven't logistics wise for Twin Mass, I haven't really done anything.
Oh yeah,
like,
no, it's been shocking.
Like, it's gone. I'm like, do I need to like check in with y'all? Like what? Nothing. So it's very crazy. I can see that though. Like I didn't do the Twin Mass tabletop event. We were working on one for Gen Con. Fortunately, we didn't get enough people sign up for it, but that's okay because we're doing it outside of Gen Con. I think that'll be better anyway. But yeah, it's a lot like collecting and like LARP can sometimes be way more like at the game is way more improvisational. Like, oh, hey, the players made this choice. Like I have an idea. Here's what we can do, and then just do it. Tabletops, however, like no matter what, you kind of have to be a little more organized in what you can and can't do and what you can. There's some room for improvisation and like that going with the flow. But for the most part, like you still have to have an idea and you have to have like the goal at the end of the game that you're trying to get to as a DM, right? And I think that's in a way, I think that'll help LARPers too, kind of like focus. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it does because you have to in order for it to happen in the first place. Like the barrier for it happening is knowing what's going on. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So a couple of points here for me. Let me make them real quick though. As a control freak, I absolutely love everything going online because I could actually like cultivate like everybody's point of view into what I want them rather than like I'm trying to set up a mod and like trying to herd cats and like they all just disperse and I'm like shit, I can't handle that. Like so as a control freak, I love being online. However, I just posted the question to everybody if they were okay if we started the chat or start the stream over again, and they were saying either way it's up to us. So I'm posing it to you guys as everybody on. Do you guys want to restart? It looks like our tech Joe said it'll take about 1 minute for us to reset. Again, apologies for we've got a reset it in capital letters.
That's one person.
So again, apologies. Our gremlin ate our HDMI cable, so we're working really quickly to get it back up again. So I think it sounds like we're gonna go ahead and reboot. It's gonna take 1 minute. But while
cool, I'm gonna go to the restroom real quick.
Go to the restroom. Everybody who's in chat, keep sending your questions, and we'll have them lined up. So when we come back on, we'll be able to answer y'all's questions. But hang tight, don't leave. We love you. We're going to take a potty break and go talk to Gremlins and make sure that our HDMI cables are good. Thanks, everyone.
Cool.
Well, I'm glad I sat down just now.
We're uninvisible now.
Yay! Thank you, Joe, for fixing everything.
Thank you, Joe.
Bless your tech. Bless them always.
Yeah. So back at it, we were talking about...
to refresh.
Oh.
I told chat to refresh because they're not going to get it as easy if they don't hit refresh.
Accurate.
Yeah.
What is going on in this chat?
They're RPing. Let it go. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
So we were talking about immersion, right?
Yeah.
Immersion.
I think Fab, you were talking about stuff right then, yeah?
Oh yeah. I was just saying like how I don't even remember. Keep going.
You were making good points.
I'll just add in. I think there's like I think it's just the tech space chat kind of takes us back, and all the other forms of like old role playing that we now
like
have to kind of go back
dungeons,
to.
right? Muds.
Yeah. But like how it kind of encourages us to have more theater of the mind and like suspension of disbelief, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even when communicating on Discord and you're interacting with that world, many of us who are players also have to be almost our own storytellers. So things like you have to describe what you're wearing. You have to describe the room that you're in. If you're doing actions, it doesn't have to be just, I hand you a piece of paper. We can actually now describe the piece of paper. We can say that it's folded up. We can see what the contents are. So something that is interesting that is new for us is that we do have to be almost over descriptive of trying to, in order for us to simulate what we would be experiencing if we were physically present. So the end result is that you now have like players who would also to again have to be their own storytellers in order to convey what their character would be doing.
That's part of the point that I was looking forward to leaning into, and you're absolutely right, Ryan, on that. Like, the aspects that I think are the most important for immersion. Well, one of them is super important. The other one is just helpful. With Discord has video chat, and I noticed a hell of a lot of my players were not only using text chat, but they were also using video chat and dressing up. Some of them even went so far to like decorate the back of their the back of their like play space, just like how Fabienne has like photo manipulated it. I've got we are living in the future. It's we are playing in cyberspace, so I made a cyberpunk setup. But
it's funny how like all of these like film industry things, like a green screen is now like standard. I think when the pandemic first hit, you couldn't get webcams because everyone bought webcams. And then like green screens and mics, like nice mics, like Yeti mics all sold out. Like everyone bought them. And those are things that like are podcast standard and like the YouTube standard and even like professional film and video standard. It's interesting how like we've all kind of adapted and like, all right, well now we have to learn how to do this new like job. Like my mom was a green screen specialist when I was a kid, and that was like a rare thing. Like now everyone's a fucking green screen specialist. Like
well, technology as well. A lot of people like the latest generation of smartphones have some of the best microphones and the best cameras, and often better than some of the like a few years old cameras and microphones. There are quite a few of the earlier like Yetis and I think Snowballs and things like that honestly we were using those for our earlier podcasts, and we switched over to smartphones because the audio quality was just significantly better. When Ryan suggested that, I thought he was crazy. But yeah, like, I mean, you can actually pretty much tell when we made that switch over to using different equipment. And it's really interesting how everything is just so much, as you said, more accessible, more available to everyone. Do you mind if I slip into the theory crafting for how I've been finding the best way to immerse my players?
Yeah, yes. I was just gonna say, I think a tool that's really helpful is music in general. Like even when we were normally LARPing, like sound and music can really, or even on tabletops, they have some great. Sirenscape is great. I'm just gonna free promo right here. Sirenscape is great. There's so many different options, and like there's Sirenscape has their online player now, where for example, everyone would download the on-playing player, and then I, the DM or whoever, can control, like customize the music, and everyone hears it on their own system. So it's not like I have to amplify it to you or like somehow get it to you. It's already there on your system that you can.
It's like an internet radio system.
Yeah, it's really great, and that is like such a great way to like get your players if you're a DM, or even if your DM's not doing it and like, oh man, we're in a sci-fi world, pull up that sci-fi whatever soundtrack,
yeah.
and it almost immediately like immerses you, right? It's insane.
I did
Music
that for
adds
my
drama.
mod. I did that for my mod, but I had a morning one, so to add to the immersion, I actually had everyone choose their favorite tea and describe their favorite tea. And that's how I got the characters into the area that they needed to go to, was the ingredients in their teas.
That's cool.
I know even in live action games, I've played a lot with finding YouTube is an amazing source of like hour-long ambient tracks, and that's super valuable. I've many times like preloaded a YouTube video on my phone and then just started streaming it through my through like a wireless speaker, and like, you know, even just like ambient noises of like creaking bars and like just kind of the hollow like whispering of winds and things, it gives so much of a different feeling, because like auditory is one of your senses. The more of the senses that you engage your player with, the more immersed they will become. Obviously, we have, unless we work out how to make smells on the internet, there are a few that we can't quite touch yet.
Smell-o-vision. Man, that's the future.
Smell-o-vision.
It will always be the future.
You mentioned Sirenscape does that. It's not quite as useful because you don't have like sound effects and like very ambient stuff, but Spotify
Sirenscape does have effects. Like you can do footsteps.
No, that wasn't what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
I was saying Sirenscape does have that.
Oh,
what I was going to say is Spotify does not have that, but they do offer the ability to, you give people a link, and then whatever you're playing, they can listen into when you're managing a certain playlist and stuff. So like a lot of companies that handle like online music and online stuff are like really smartening up on it. It's kind of really cool.
Yeah, what's interesting is that it feels like for LARPs to survive online, they need to become their own production companies.
Yeah,
because that's the only way that you can transpose that experience and that LARP feeling with people. Like they have to be, what you're asking a LARP to do in order to translate that is a lot. You have to ask them to come up with not only just like the planning of a tabletop, but you have to get them organized. So you have to understand things like spreadsheets. You have to understand like music and auditory cues. You have to understand like things like Discord. Like it sounds like you have like 5 or 6 different things going on just so you can make an online LARP happen.
Have you heard of Otherworld Theater?
Nope. I have not. What's that?
They're a theater company in Chicago that has their own LARP department called Moonrise LARP. And I really want to go to one of their games. They do these like crazy blockbuster LARPs, but they do it with the theater company. So they're able to pull actors and pull writers and pull the like producers and logistics and stuff from the theater company, which I think is genius. I don't know why other theater companies haven't done that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But like you were saying, Ryan, is because they're a production, they were able to start an online LARP once the pandemic hit. And they wrote a whole online LARP just for Zoom and for just to cater to people who wanted to still LARP during the pandemic. It looks really cool. It's like Viking space Vikings. It looks really cool. I want to check it out. And you can, and it's also pretty accessible. Like their price is obviously like a lot cheaper than you would to go to one of their blockbuster LARPs that are like several $100s. And you can buy into so many episodes or just one episode. And that's kind of what you're saying is they're a whole production company. They're a whole theater company that we're lucky enough to already have these resources to kind of produce an online LARP right away. Nice.
So earlier, like when I asked about immersion ideas, I was really interested in like some of the points you guys have. I have a little bit of psychology and a little bit of system, and they kind of go hand in hand of what we've done for Dystopia Rising. We had a very talented game designer by the name of Christian McGowan. build us a system that was very specifically geared towards encouraging a certain type of narrative role play. I'm very, very blessed that we had some amazing other game developers working on that with it. One of them being our very own Ryan Omega. Omega? Oh, wow. Omega.
Omega. That's a good one.
Yeah. But yeah, so they were able to produce this excellent system for us that they've been very graceful to let us license to us and so forth for our games. And it was built from the ground up, trying to really encourage LARPers to kind of step outside of their usual expectations. If you're a regular fan of our show, you will know one of my favorite words or phrases is collaborative narrative experience. And as, you know, catchwordy as that does, like poppy as that does kind of sound, I think it really does encapsulate some of the best aspects of storytelling and especially immersion. Because the easiest way to get a player immersed in absolutely anything is get them to have stakes in it, buy into it. We love that phrase as game designers and game runners, buy in, and I can't think of the other word, but there's a bunch of other good words that all mean just embracing and connecting to what you're doing, and they're on the edge of their seat. And investment, there we go. But yeah, like when you get the player invested, they are so much more connected. If they don't care about your story, they're done. They're coasting. Maybe they're just there to hang out with their friends. But what I'm leading up to isn't just the idea of good story. The way I've found of getting players to invest the most is actually telling the story with them. And I know that sounds like, well, duh, every D&D game does that, but we've specifically taken it a little step further. So real quick, we have this whole rolling system where you start out with a base amount of dice and you're only supposed to score like 2 successes on 3 dice, which gives you a reasonable chance of doing it maybe. If things get harder, we start applying negatives. So you use less dice. The same number of successes is always required. Here's where it gets sneaky, and I love the idea of this. It has this whole phase system where first you announce what you want to do. Oh, I'm going to do like a really big overhead swing and try and chop the goblin in half. Cool. Okay. What kind of skills? Because we're not using character sheets per se. We can lean into the backstories of the characters and lean into, like, in the LARP, they have skills. They do have a character sheet, but we don't really touch that because all of the LARP system really doesn't usually work in like a pen and paper kind of like, chat room kind of setting, as I'm sure all of us know. It's like, oh yeah, it's great that I have this spell, but yeah. So what we do is we encourage our players to come up with creative reasonings, not only just internally with themselves of like, oh, well, like I'm planning on sneaking up on this bad guy. Okay, what kind of skills do you have with that? Well, my character is good at stealth. Okay, well, fair enough. You have the skill on your sheet. Here is a dice. How else? My character is a tunnel-dwelling mutant, so they are naturally just better at seeing in the dark, which means when they're sneaking up, they don't need a light source, and they can see the terrain better, so they're not going to step on something that's going to make noise. Great. You've just defined something and made something more real by doing that. And the players are basically kind of pitching and presenting story on why they would be extra good at something. And I even encourage them to go a step further and I love this example. Imagine you've got some players that are trying to sneak into some kind of base and they're behind a chain link fence. They don't have any tools to cut the chain link fence, but one of them, when they're suggesting ways that they want to try and get in, they're like, are there any areas of the chain link fence that are like rusted or bad? Maybe I could get a way in. And they've presented something that is changing the world. It's no longer about their character internally of what they can do and what they feel. It's now them helping sculpt the external, helping sculpt the world around them, which is something usually that is reserved to the DM alone. If you give them the agency to kind of help change the environment outwards, obviously you have the final say, so you can be like, no, that's not going to work. As always, yes and no but are much better ways of telling story. So you could say, there isn't that, but you do notice this, and now you're helping with them again. Or if they do go for that and you love that idea, you're like, yeah, you're really lucky. Like that is totally there. Like, I think that's going to really give you an advantage. Here's another dice to your roll. And that's when you've done the psychology of having a player kind of invest into your world on that extra level where they are building the world, and that suddenly pulls them in even further. Just like how we had a whole episode or two about creating your backstories and like having reasons why your character doesn't trust certain people or loves certain things or is afraid of certain things, all of those connections, there has to be a real reason for it. And if you remember the reason, it makes it that much more real for you to step into it. If your character just hates goblins, then okay, that's kind of shallow. If you got real backstory on the full list of reasons why you hate goblins, you've got so much more energy and passion to draw upon, and that is the world just kind of funneling inside you. So I think that's a really cool tool that I would encourage anyone doing online LARPs. Try and have the players help in certain ways to sculpt the world with you. Do that collaborative storytelling aspect.
Oh, 100%. Like, it's essential for it just being successful, because if you're just trying to get people invested in like random things they don't really have any like tie or hook into, you're mostly not gonna hook that dramatic tension. So Twin Mask's response was to really focus on historical major events that the PCs could request. And then we also broke that down into like 3 chunks of like storytelling stuff. So like a plot is all the stuff that the storytelling team is working on. So it's player requested mods that then get like fleshed out over like a month and a half. The B plot is then all the random plot that's going around to be engaged with in between these scheduled events. And then the C plot is anything else that can be engaged with without the need of any like present storyteller. Like maybe you check in with them for like a reconnaissance about a thing you've completed, but otherwise you can carry out most of that action on your own. And breaking it down into those 3 things has helped us a lot.
I like how we have different names for those aspects, but we entirely have the same system. It's actually pleased me greatly that every online LARP that I've done any little bit of investigation into, I feel like almost all of them have naturally stepped into this idea of like, we're going to play D&D, but it's going to be lots of games going on at once, and you can play in one of them, and then you can come back into this communal chat room and share your experiences, and then you can team up with some other people that you might not have played with already and go off again into another D&D session kind of thing. And it's just, I think that's an experience that a lot of people have never had. Something close as a physical aspect, I used to play like D&D Living Greyhawk. I know there's like a 5th edition name for it now, but like, Dungeons & Dragons making these pre-made adventures, and like everyone at the game store is playing the same adventure, and everyone sits down on these tables, and whoever you sit down at the table with, you're playing with. And every month or 2, more modules come out. So every time you're sitting down and playing, even though everyone's playing it at playing the same mission, you're all kind of working through this story together kind of thing. But yeah, the communal chat rooms and then the external like adventures, I think is just, it makes me very happy that so many different LARPs have stepped onto that. Yeah.
And it does echo back to what Sin was saying earlier about like forum RPs, and it feeling a lot like that's kind of there, because there was one I was a part of. I wish I remembered it because it deserves the name, but it had like thousands of players all RPing in the same game world, and they had like curated moderators for like adventures out into the world, and then they had like open tavern settings for people to just forum RP, and it's all forum based, so people are doing like 2-3 paragraphs for their things. It's not a live thing, but I could see that things like that starting to blossom again, because like again, calling back to Sin's point, you don't necessarily always have that time to sit down and vigorously RP at 2 a.m. for, a bunch of weird stuff. But if you had a thing you checked once a day and then maybe wrote a reply and then walked away and came back to you the next day, that could be another avenue of role play. And I think that's really what we're going to start seeing from this point, is this budding of different weird styles that kind of like emerge, because really it's only just started.
So here's a weird question, because since we are in lockdown and online LARPs is one of the few pieces of entertainment that we can actively interact with, is there a point where, because we're in lockdown, there's not a lot of things occupying our senses, that people might be throwing themselves almost too much into a LARP to deal with what they're dealing with now?
Both Sin and I just have this like, I think it's not just LARP though. I think it's any like hobby or like
avenue of escapism.
Exactly. It's like all of a sudden a bunch of people signed on to play MMOs. Did anyone else notice that? Like a whole bunch of people just like, now I have the time to play MMOs. And like, I think it's, if you were already a LARPer, it's now you're really throwing yourself into that because you're trying to fill that hole, right? And I think, like I think there is a point where it's like, it was already pretty bad, and now it's like, whoa. Which is good. I mean, It is good because it is an escape from the craziness that is our world currently. And yeah,
it is. But so I err on the cautionary tales of it being a toxic environment. It can become a toxic environment, I guess, with people being stuck at home. And I guess I've said this a million times to the viewers. I'm as lockdown as one can be, working in a corporate industry where I have to go to the office. I'll give you that much. So I'm not feeling as cooped up as everybody else may have felt since March. But watching as a third party, looking at the chat situations that are occurring, you can kind of get a sense that like this is all that people have right now. And like, if there's any sense of negativity in a text, y'all, like you have to like actually understand somebody's tonality from a text. Right. If you read it the wrong way, you can get flared up and start arguments that maybe not necessarily have been there. So I offer caution when going into the text-based sort of things, because if you're in a bad headspace or even just had a remotely like weird moment and you read somebody's text wrong, all of a sudden you're like launching yourself into a fight that like probably wasn't there because you were reading a text.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which I think.
Go for it. Go ahead.
I think that's another reason why we'll see long form stuff start reemerging, because that's where you can clearly express like, this is exactly what's in my character's head. And like, here's exact
feelings and things.
Yeah, because that's what's lost in a lot of that, like, oh, I need to reply sort of RP, which creates that frantic sort of worked up, bubble that can pop.
So I would recommend, go ahead, Kai.
I feel like when people are just sending normal text messages to people, because as you said, there's so many times where people misunderstand things. I try to use like emoticons. I know some people think I'm really childish for it, but I've always felt that it helps convey a little bit more of my expression, because if you put a smiley or like some kind of like, sweat drop emote or something, people are like, oh, that's definitely not a like kind of emotion. But like it would be amazing if people could normalize some kind of aspect, like if any of you played Mass Effect, there was like this alien race called the Elcor that would be like, pleasant tone, hello there human, and they would just like verbally annotate their emotional state before they start a sentence, which I always thought was utterly bizarre but really funny and fascinating. And it's almost like how text-based roleplay is.
Yeah. So I offer a solution to folks that are doing text-based stuff and you're cooped up all day at home. Like reread and reread what somebody wrote to you, and make sure that there's no issues that go on. Like don't try to respond if you're in a bad headspace or just not feeling it. Or if you have questions, like please remember to reach out to that person, because they are a person. It's not just an NPC or a player, but like behind, or a character, sorry. Reach out to the player and make sure that they're okay, and that like the argument that you may or may not ensue in is actually valid and ready for that person to combat. So that's just my
the best part about that too is that since it's chat, you can literally RP in whatever the forum is, and then also at the same time privately message and be like the person that maybe you're having a heated discussion with, and be like, hey, I know we're having this heated discussion now. I just want to check in, remind, like just say, you know, we're cool. Like this is just Jim Bob Bo being a butthole. You know, like, I don't know. That's my example.
I'll throw out an old phrase that we used to use way back in the day for chat rooms. I think everybody knows this. OOC, like just OOC that, like so that it's transparent, because you know, so yeah, exactly. So just in case, like, because this is also my fear with tech stuff, right? Like if you do something in private and then other people who are reading it take it out of context and be like, wow, Cynthia Marie was real bitchy on there. And I'm like, wait, hold on though. Like I reached out to that person. So like to clarify, like it's real easy. Like I'm old school, double brackets, OOC, throw in, hey man, this is great. I'm having a fun time. I hope everything's okay. Good, thumbs up. And that person responds. So there's that transparency, that dialogue that people are constantly checking in with each other, because now we can't check in physically, right? Like with thumbs up, thumbs down that Kai always talks about, which is fantastic. You can't do that anymore. You actually have to like write it out.
Right.
But hey, look, we got a question from the chat, by the way, just when we're ready for that question.
I was going to add just as a quick thing, Discord especially, you can add emojicons to text messages, not in your text message. You can do that obviously, but other people can add an emoticon as like a reaction to your message. I think did our feed hiccup? Okay, well, we're back again. But yeah, so if you like, you can literally just type an in-game like, or a text message that just like, OG check-in with the like, question mark, and then that person can instantly just thumbs up or thumbs down that specific message, and now you've got a barometer of knowing the emotional state on that player. And like if you just throw one of those in chat every once in a while, if you're doing something heavy, like it's so much easier. And I know that some people do get upset if you try to like break the flow of the scene by checking in with people, but I'm always an advocate for checking in however you can.
So we have a question from Effie Burton. And that question is, are there other games or groups you think are innovating online now? Who's doing stuff?
Oh, baby, I got this. Yes, there's a few. First off, TikTok. Bless Gen Z. TikTok has like a huge LARP, and it's called OC, original character community, where it's kind of like this mini version, and I would say even more accessible and more casual, like because anyone can jump into it, anyone can make a TikTok, right? I know there's like a bunch of stuff with TikTok, and I totally understand, but even it's pretty interesting what people have come up with. There's a group called Meat and Magic that it's run by Momo O'Brien. She's a LARPer, and she pretty much just said, hey, this is a tavern, and go on your adventures and like come back to the tavern and tell me about it. And then people will come back as their character and create this whole crazy adventure and story that they went on and tell it to the rest of the people of the Meat and Magic. And then even Momo started her own little like adventure with a bunch of these little TikTok videos that you could go on and kind of play along with too. And there's a bunch of different ones. There's like, if you don't like fantasy, there's sci-fi, there's pirates, there's fairies, there's ones based on movies. There's like a whole bunch of different crazy, fun, and really creative like options and people on TikTok. And it's pretty fun. That's one.
That's awesome.
Hey, Fabi. So when I read this question, actually what you guys are setting up for Gen Con, I think is probably pretty darn innovative. Are you guys allowed to talk about that?
Yes. So we actually have a panel at Gen Con called LARP and Roleplay in the Digital World. And we have guests on it that are from different aspects of LARP, but also online roleplay there. Actually, Azurai from they're a LARPer that I've LARPed with them. They do a bunch of LARP stuff. They blew up on TikTok. So they are actually going to be on that panel as kind of our TikTok professional. And yeah, like I said, they do a bunch of different ones. They got pirates, they got angels, they got demons, they got a bunch of different ones. And it's really, really fun and cool. But yeah, so that panel is on Sunday at noon Eastern Standard Time. So that's 9 a.m. Pacific time. So it's a little early.
And you find that on the Gen Con website?
It's on the Gen Con website. We're streaming it to Scabby Rooster. It's free. You don't have to pay for Gen Con or be on Gen Con. Ryan's also a guest. There we go. Ryan's also going to be a guest on that, talking about obviously Blank Slate and Twitch side of it. And then the other one I want to mention, which I've started doing recently and is really fucking fun, is VR chat. And there is a whole genre. It's called VR Chat RP, and it's literally LARPing, but with a headset, and it is really fucking amazing. These people build these crazy worlds, and again, all different genres. There's Magic School. That's a really popular one. Is called Ascension Academy. I believe they're actually live stream. A group of them are a team, and they live stream it on Twitch. There's also like a Battle Siege one. There's a cyberpunk one called Hallows Row, and it's so cool and it's so fun. And they literally have a plot team that plans out their adventure, and they have a person that builds out the world and builds out. Sometimes there's mechanics involved, but VR chat doesn't have a whole lot of like video game like aspects to it. It's mostly role play. So you role play your fight, you role play your battles.
Did we enter Ready Player One?
Yes, it is. Yes,
basically.
Yes, it is Ready Player One. Absolutely.
Okay.
It is Ready Player One in a way. Everyone talks about like, is it Ready Player One? It's like, yeah, no, it's pretty much you have your character that is your ideal person that you want to be, and you have your damn headset, and it's really cool. And yeah, I think that's like a whole new world of role play, and even like it because it is live action.
Yeah,
it's just not like it's in the virtual world versus in this world.
Cyberspace.
Cyberspace. But yeah, I think that's a whole nother like genre of roleplay LARPing that it emerged even before the pandemic, which is really cool. I recommend people checking it out. We actually are really excited. We are commissioning artists and digital people that do digital stuff to make the Scabby Rooster in VR, so we could start having tavern night like the tavern nights that we used to do, but in VR. And the other great thing about VR chat is free, and you don't have to have a headset. So it's like even more accessible. Really? Yeah, you don't have to. You don't get, obviously, if you have the headset, you get like the more fully immersed thing.
So you're just playing it like a first-person shooter?
Yes.
Kind of?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
cool.
So it's something that you could eventually grow into if you eventually want to get the headset. And yeah, and the game itself is free. It's free. You don't pay for it. So
I'm really glad that there's no like, I mean, because like VR headsets can be like $500 to $1,000. I'm really, really glad to hear that there isn't any kind of like price tag like gate that you have to be like this rich to get in. That makes me very, very happy. Yeah,
I will say there are some groups that, and it kind of goes to the smaller LARP groups, that it's just like their group of friends and them just hanging out. And sometimes those guys will be like, hey, we really want you to have a headset. But again, like if you're just starting out, there are games that are like, yeah, you don't have to have a headset. Just come and hang out and role play with us. So yeah. I watched it. I started watching it actually the beginning of this year when we started doing Aether House Academy, because I literally was like, oh, let's look at magic schools on Twitter or Twitch or whatever. And then Ascension Academy came up, and I was like, holy shit, these guys are LARPing. What? Crazy. So
it makes me
bit.
Oh, yeah, and holy moly, that is so many good bits of information. Like there are so many. I didn't realize that there are so many of those things out there.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot. There's so many. I was part of one that was zombies. That was undead zombies, where I was I was an NPC. I was cast as an NPC to be a zombie, and they had the avatar already there for me. I just had to copy the avatar onto mine, and they told me what to do, just like a LARP. They have an NPC camp. And the NPCs hang out there. They're told, hey, this is what you got to do. This is like where you got to be. You can, sometimes the game has like teleports, so you can teleport to where you need to go or whatever. That's all programmed in. I don't know how the fuck they do that. There's someone out there who's a genius. But yeah, it's essentially a LARP. It's LARPing, but in the fake world.
Someone called it CARP, Cyber Action Roleplay.
Right.
Yeah, like the sheer amount of people that are discovering LARP for the first time, or like embracing it, and not only just like existing LARPers being like, I need my fix. Like it's actually new people being getting to experience all of this hobby in a completely different format, and that is so exciting. Like for my Dystopia Rising game that we did, we had like a large amount of brand new players who had never played Dystopia Rising, never played our game before, and that blew my mind. I cannot believe that people want to try and check out, like, especially a LARP that is doing an online LARP but is normally a live action LARP. It is so exciting that the idea of online LARPs are that enticing to new players who want to just dive in and find entertainment and find that enjoyment, that they're willing to take that step and hop into an online experience, which honestly, there's a lot of stigma and people assuming that it's not going to be as good as LARP. It doesn't have to be. It's different.
Right.
There's different things that are possible, and that's so cool.
I think the online LARPing too is also a big part is like accessibility. Like, like again, like the other world LARPs, their LARPs are usually like $500+ because they're huge blockbuster LARPs. But now their online LARPs are only like $35. So anyone can really go and like play, and all of these people, and now people from around the world, right? Like you might have in your Dystopia Rising game, someone from Europe can now come play.
Yeah.
That kind of just how much more accessible it is to people who've never LARPed even. Now it's their chance to kind of dip their toe in, and when all of this is better, whenever that is, they can maybe are more inclined to go to those things, go to the real life event. Yeah.
That's so cool. Like, I just love all of the hobbies are like our hobbies, the ones that we grew up in. Like there are so many people discovering and rediscovering it and just like embracing all of this fun stuff. And it used to be that people are like, that's really nerdy. But when everyone's stuck at home, suddenly a whole bunch of things, people are willing to be like, fuck it, let's try it. Mm. And that's so exciting. We are really close to the end of this though. So does anyone have anything they want to throw in before we get to the end?
I think we might want to talk about what we think is going to happen when LARP comes back. Yeah, right? Like what we think. Because like Garrett pointed out earlier, like it's not going to be the same. There are going to be a lot of changes. So that's probably something we might want to end it with. So there's a little bit of hope in the world. Yeah.
Well, I mean, LARPing's never going to go away. I truly believe it is the default thing that humanity seeks to do, aside from all other things that are pressing being taken care of. Like you've had reenactments existing for years upon years and years. Like the Greeks pretended to be the gods. Like LARPing it's in our souls. We all play pretend as children.
Yeah, like kids pretending to be Power Rangers and everything.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be more about LARPing, just matching the changes that are going to happen in society, like mask wearing being part of normal routines. Unfortunately, breaking away from hugging everybody as much. I mean, that's one of the things I loved about LARP, is that it got a lot of people, including myself, to open more up about being, less shy about being touched. And that's great to be a part of a community. But for a couple years now, I don't think I really want to just throw myself into those hug trains. Where it's oh, you and you and you. It'll be hey, you. Person. So those are the subtle things that I'm sure will just be so normal for us adapting to real life that it's not even going to feel different in the LARP. The biggest thing I think that's going to make things different is however long it takes to get back to being able to run bigger games, because bigger games is what we think of as a normal sort of state for things. So to address that, I could see, and not for Twin Match, just for lots of games.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not even saying immediately when anything starts even being available, because everybody on the Twin Match staff is on the same page with hey, even when they do say we can, let's wait a little. Yeah. Let's not be the very, very front line of the let's make stuff happen again. So
that's all about, especially when you have a dedicated group of people that you see on the regular. LARPs are still very close-knit circles. They welcome new people, but there are, you're going to see the same people every time you go and play. There's going to be those common people that you keep bumping into. And it's so much different than someone walking into a store, buying a product and leaving. It's so much more community-driven that you have to manage the community and protect the community. And that means some of your business decisions have to be way more about looking after your people than, other kinds of things that normal businesses really focus on, like the profit line.
I think, too, that it'll be that kind of slow build back in will kind of be nice, because it'll give, and this kind of goes into Adriana's question in the chat on what changes you're looking forward to. I think that's a change to look forward to, because now the game is smaller, so you're going to have more personal time, and you're the storytellers are going to be able to focus more on certain parts of the story that they want to do. I know, Garrett, you were talking about because we're staff and stuff, they were talking about how you really wanted to try to run smaller events that are more focused, just about one topic, that this is the problem that everyone has to solve at the ball or whatever. And I think this is kind of that opportunity that you now get once all of this is back to coming, I guess, that it's now these smaller, more intimate moments and adventures that you can kind of focus on, which I think is something that you absolutely miss when it's this giant game of hundreds of people that you have to focus on everyone having a fun time,
And I think it goes hand in hand with allowing more player agency and trust with through the community at large to kind of do higher level storytelling. Building the random battle team for Twin Mask, we really were all right, we need people with tabletop skills, not LARP skills, tabletop skills. Right. So that kind of expands the pool that would normally be creating story content already. And it's already in a system that's safe to create content in. We're giving all the team all the information that they would need for the town, give them maps for the town, and tell them where the boundaries of creativity kind of are. And then they as a group get to kind of shape their story as they move things through the story, through the timeline.
You even when it comes to the logistics side of things, there's often a lot of people volunteering to help you on the logistics sides of handling all the paperwork and the checking in and all that kind of stuff to get people ready to play at a LARP. All of those that workload is truncated a lot with being online, and that means that minimized rather, and that means that there's a lot more of those people who help on that end, getting the opportunity to maybe help with story instead. And you've got more hands for the things that you want to do in story, rather than having to divide between the two and handle logistical. Sorry, Sin, you had.
So
I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. I want people. I'm looking forward to people like having better self-care. I feel like with this whole situation, it's giving a lot of people perspective on taking care of themselves, and like it goes from like, I feel a cough, I feel obligated to not bring that to the game, versus I think before the pandemic, I have a cough, but I got to power through this because I got to go play the game, because I got to go save the town.
Yeah.
Like I hope that LARPers will take this opportunity to learn better self-care and learn their bodies better, so that when we go into a bigger LARP situation and they just can't do it, it's easier for them to go, you know what, I need to step back. I totally get it. I got to go take care of myself. That, and I really do hope that people learn to take showers, because I heard that was actually a problem during like all weekend LARP online, is that people like forgot that they had to go to the bathroom or go take a shower. Like, don't forget to do that, y'all. Like, wash your hands, take a shower, change your shirt, change your underwear, like please put on a fresh set of clothes. And like, I know that nobody can smell you, but you can smell yourself. Put some deodorant or whatever it is that makes you feel good. For the love of God, and like, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So I mean, really, that's what I hope. And I hope that behavior that you do by yourself translates into LARP, so the rest of us don't suffer from horrible BO if you walk by or.
Yeah, I think kind of to add to that, we're all, pretty much all of us are in the film industry, and we've all probably heard in one way or another how the film industry is changing. And that's kind of a similar thing, where it's a bunch of people getting together in close proximity 4 days on end, working together. And I think a lot of like hygiene, like we work at this warehouse, and they were talking about how sanitary stations, they're building and setting up prep for a whole department just called sanitation in film. So that way, when you go to a shoot on location or you go to a shoot at a studio, there is sanitation there to clean up everything, to have hand sanitizer on site, to have, make sure everyone's social distancing, even though hopefully after this, we won't have to social distance as much, once there's vaccines and all that things. But I think that is going to, like, when you go to run a LARP, especially a larger LARP, logistically and probably government-wise, those things are going to start being mandated. Like, you're going to have, how many restrooms do you have on site? According to how many people do you have on site? Do you have sinks? Do those sinks have, antibacterial soap, not just normal soap? Like that kind of stuff. I think big events are going to have to start doing. Like, the government is probably going to step in and be like, yeah, you need all this stuff, like just stuff that we didn't think about before, because obviously it wasn't a problem. Now, logistically, LARPs are going to have to start thinking about and start adding to their logistical event process. And I think that's a good thing, though, in a way. Like you said, Cynthia, I also would love to not smell everyone.
This is a real good spot. Ryan, do you have anything to follow up on any of these points, or throw into the ring on stuff?
Yeah, I think what will end up happening is that we're going to see a lot of communication technology evolve. Because people didn't take advantage of it when we were not in lockdown. But now, since it's the only way that we are able to talk to people at a distance, you're going to see a lot more avatars becoming popular. You're going to see a lot more of the surroundings becoming popular. Like, anything that will enhance the simulation of an in-person communication with others, you're going to see a lot more of that. If people don't feel like LARP is, like the current online LARPs feel immersive enough, someone is going to make money developing that type of technology. I guarantee, so whoever does that is going to be very rich because people are now looking to simulate that physical experience. and I guarantee you someone is going to look at how we interact and create that space. So like very similar to VR chat, but making it more accessible. And I think that's the key. Making it more accessible is going to be the key to making sure that we have these interactions, and as well as the technology to develop that. But also, I think just the pure interest. I think people will just want to make those interactions become more as close to real without being physical.
I think, yeah, the trick is making it more accessible. I think is the big thing. And I think in some ways, like the digital aspect of all of this has kind of like we were saying earlier about more people all of a sudden doing the digital LARP, people that haven't even been to your live events. And I hope that it encourages more accessibility in LARPing and more innovative ways to LARP, I guess.
Yeah. Sin, would you like to, I think we're about time. Would you like to take us away on the exit?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off with some things I need to plug, and you guys know me, I'm Cynthia Marie. You guys can catch me on a whole bunch of places. I am going to be on Sirens tomorrow is coming back. I'm really, really excited about that. We're doing a Comic-Con show, so
nice.
Check out my social medias. My Twitter is located here. My Instagram, Cynthia__Marie. I know it's 2 separate names. I'm so sorry about that. I'll work on that soon. The other one that I'd love to plug next week, Gen Con, I'm going to be doing stuff with Hunters Entertainment. So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited because it's a game that I haven't played yet. So holy crap, it's going to be amazing.
I heard about it. I'm really excited.
Yeah, just check out social medias. I love you guys. I'm going to pass it over to Kai.
I'm gonna throw it over to Fab first.
Okay. Cool. Hi. Or bye, everyone. I'm Fab. You can find me personally everywhere at Magical Girl Fab. But I also run the Scabby Rooster, which you can find everywhere at the Scabby Rooster. We have a Twitch channel. That's our main focus. But we also have YouTube, and we have a TikTok. You can go TikTok with us. We have everything. So come do that. We have a D&D game on Mondays. Tuesdays, I play just Final Fantasy, chill out, hang out. We have our friend playing Baldur's Gate on Sundays on Twitch. And then we also have some Gen Con stuff next weekend. Like I mentioned, we have Kids on Brooms. We are playing Aether House Academy. Using the Kids on Broom system that just came out from Hunters Entertainment. And a bunch of us, including, someone here that's down there who plays a teacher on Aether House, is going to be running tables. It's going to be really fun and amazing. You can check out, you can sign up for that at bit.ly/rooster@GenCon. We also have other Gen Con events. Knox is teaching a mini painting course, as well as we have our LARP and roleplay in the digital world panel, which is going to have a bunch of different professionals in the LARP and digital roleplay space. Ryan May is also one of our people on that, as well as Sam and Faye from Scabby Rooster, the Azurai, and then we also have some VR chat people on that too. So that's going to be fun. And that is Sunday at 12 Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time.
Cool.
And yeah, that's that. That's me.
Garrett?
Well, mine will be much shorter because I live under a social media rock.
No,
it's not all. I don't want to be bothered by people constantly. My work demands constantly staring at a screen and picking at it with a little pen.
That's fair.
But no, you can see some of my photography. Unfortunately, not of the LARP for a while, at LARPtography via Instagram. And if you want to see any of my art, you can see that on ArtStation via Crunchy Leaves if you search for that username. Outside of that, you can find me on the Twin Mass Discord server, and you probably won't see me outside again until we have events.
Ryan, shall I go, or would you like to?
I'll go. All right. So this Saturday, I'm going to be part of the virtual the virtual Comic-Con on the LHAL for Design Instagram. So I will be interviewed on Instagram Live, where we're going to talk about increasing diversity in a lot of our programming. And then next week, you get to watch me hang out with Fab and fabulous people doing a lot of Gen Con stuff. And I'm really, really excited. I actually bought like potions because we're going to do a potion puzzle type thing.
So fun. It's so fun. It's going to be really fun, guys.
And you can find me on Instagram under Ryan Omega and on Twitter under Ryan OMGA. And while I'm in Iowa, I won't be doing like Magic Office Hour, but I am planning to put other things up. So catch me here.
Awesome. You can see right about here, Yokai Props. That's where you can find me wherever. I'm pretty sure I have a TikTok too. I haven't really used it yet. I'm still working on a couple of projects I want to introduce into it, but I got to build them first. But yeah, the main thing that I'm doing right now that you can check out is Dystopia Rising NorCal. Really glad to get that started up again. You can find that just by punching in Dystopia Rising Northern California. Words are hard. Geez. Dystopia Rising Northern California on Facebook, and you will find the page, and you will find a group of some like 700 or 800 people that are amazing beings and very wholesome. And you show up and you say, "Hi, I'm new," and there will be so many people there who want to help you come have fun with us if you are so interested. So yeah. Who's gonna send us out? Is it gonna be Ryan? Is it gonna be Sid?
Oh, okay. So, thank you for joining us for this episode of Life Action Roleplay. And until next time, bye!
Bye!
Bye.